Shaitan promised Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala 4 things. Shaitan promised Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala 4 things. He said, وَلَا أُضِلَّنَّهُمْ. He said, I will lead them astray. And you look at majority of humanity today, instead of becoming the servants of Rahman, they are the servants of Shaitan. Then he said, وَلَا أُمَنِّيَنَّهُمْ. And he said, I will give them unto their false passions and their desires. And subhanAllah, you can broadly define false passions and desires into 2. One are your carnal desires, your desire for the flesh. And you look at our society, how it has succumbed to the wish of Shaitan. Really, you look into our society today, that it is a sex-driven society, it is a sex-mad society. That the society promotes sex as long as you have safe sex, because according to them, it's a physical thing. You carry on. Whilst Islamically it's a spiritual thing. When a husband comes to his wife, he recites du'as, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala safeguards that child. And the ulama write that this is the first right of the child, because it's a spiritual thing. And you look at our society today, that if by the age of 16 you haven't broken your virginity, there's something wrong with you. This is why out of the 7 people who will be under the shade of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment will be that young man, Nasha'a fi ibadatillah, who grew up in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He will be under the shade of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the first form is your carnal desire. وَلَا أُمَنِّيَنَّهُمْ. I will give them unto the carnal desires. The second, that Shaitan will delude you in believing into false aspirations of this dunya. He will make you believe in false aspirations of this dunya, and he will make this dunya the purpose of your life. Not only will he make this dunya the purpose of your life, he will not give you time to even think about the purpose of your life. And subhanAllah, how you see how the promise of Shaitan is coming to pass. You know, they give you your TV sets, and then they give you your videos, and then they give you your DVDs, and then they give you your satellite channels, so you have more channels than you can even count. And then they give you your mobile phones, and then they give you voice activated mobile phones, and then they give you your camera phones, and then they give you your video phones, and then they give you the internet, and then they give the internet on your mobile phone, so that the posters say you can shop until you drop dead. And when you drop dead, the same Shaitan will say, La talumuni lumu anfusakum. Don't blame me, blame yourself. I called you and you oblige. And you will be suckered like the billions who were suckered before you. So the second promise of Shaitan was وَلَا أُمَنِّيَنَّهُمْ. The third promise of Shaitan was وَلَا أَمُرَنَّهُمْ فَلْيُبَتِّكُنَّ أَذَانَ الْأَنَامِ. I will command them, and they will slit the ear of the cattle. What the mushrikeen would do is that they would slit the ear, and they would slit the animal, and they would let on the name of their gods, and they would let it walk, and wherever it fell, it was halal for the males and it was haram for the women. This is what they would do. The author of Tafsir Mazari mentions that this means that a time will come where Shaitan will tell man to disfigure the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you see this today, really. You look into our society, a consumer society, where they try to create chickens without feathers. They try to create chickens without feathers. Where recently in Switzerland, they found a fruit fly. And from that fruit fly, they found a gene which they dubbed eyeless. And when they noted that wherever they injected this gene, an eye would grow. And they injected this gene on 14 places of this dragon, or this fruit fly. And on 14 places on the anatomy of the fruit fly, eyes grew. See, this is man playing God, playing with the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But it doesn't stop there. You look at those who reach the pinnacle of success. Really, look at those people who reach the pinnacle of success. Those like Michael Jackson. You know, the guy was a good looking person a few years ago. But he reaches the pinnacle of success, and then he's deluded by the dunya. He even thinks that there must be some more contentment out there. But doesn't realize that the only contentment is the contentment of the heart. The only time you can really have contentment is when you recognize your Creator. And then what does he do? He starts playing around with his features. He starts disfiguring his features. And now you look the way, the guy doesn't even look like a human being. Because this is what Shaitan said, I will command them and they will change, disfigure the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the fourth promise of Shaitan is, وَلَأَعْمُرَنَّهُمْ فَلْيُغَيِّرُنَّ خَلْقَ اللَّهِ. I will command them and they will change the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Subhanallah. You know, the traditional interpretation for this verse was to shave the beard was to change the creation of Allah, because this was a sign of a man. To pluck the eyebrows was a sign of change, a sign of changing the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But because the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala transcends time and space, it is relevant for all time, because it guides us until the final day. Today, it relates to your GM foods. This is changing the normal process, changing the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. See, when they take the antifreeze gene from the Arctic fish and they inject it into your tomatoes so they have longer shelf lives, this is playing with the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because believe it or not, fish don't have relationships with tomatoes. It doesn't work like that. This is GM food. You're playing with the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And look, what could be a greater change in the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What could be a greater change in the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? That a man transforms into a woman and a woman transforms into a man. And this was the fourth promise of Shaitan. And you see it coming to pass today. What greater change could there be? That a man becomes a woman and a woman becomes a man. And Shaitan says, I will command them and they will change the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, hold on to the book of Allah. فِي نَبَأُ مَنْ كَانَ قَبْلَكُمْ وَخَبْرُ مَا بَعْدَكُمْ وَحُكْمُ مَا بَيْنَكُمْ. And the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a hukm between you. It is a thing which passes verdict between you. هُوَ الْفَصْلِ لَيْسَ بِالْحَصْلِ. The Prophet ﷺ articulated this 1400 years ago.